soon as you start.
Good day, everyone. Greetings from sunny South Africa. My name is Hayley, and I'm going to be presenting with my colleague and friend Phethile Zitha. We are two of the founding members of a youth initiative in Dobsonville, Soweto, Johannesburg, South Africa. The initiative is called Youth of the South, and we abbreviate it to YOTS. The aims of YOTS is really to explore the lived experiences of young people with the hope of supporting and understanding their development in a manner that's informed by youth, so that's kind of incorporating a constant collaborative research process with youth through building meaningful relationships and for youth, offering ways for them to exercise their activism, encouraging personal development, and really being involved in initiatives that uplift and transform the community. Perhaps this will be best said by some of the Yahtsees themselves.
Youth of the South is a group of intelligent, wise, vivacious, and free young people who share their life experiences and stories. So we offer counsel to each other without judgment, and we also aim to stretch each other's thinking and imagination. So our vision and objective is to see young people of color reaching their full potential, gaining access to resources and opportunities through innovative education, and by uncovering alternative community stories, critically engaging with their dreams and fighting for social justice. So what we do is we meet weekly to engage with issues facing young people with an intention to understand the youth of today. We also host and attend social events to engage with other youth. So we also focus on our personal growth and development. We keep up to date with the current affairs related to young people, and mostly we fight with them.
Hey guys, my name is Colin Roma, all the way from Dobsonville, and I'm here to tell you about Youth of the South. So, in a short form, it's YOTS. Okay. So, Youth of the South, like, it's a voice, it's an organization that brings out the voice of the youth. Like, it's a projector that shows how a young life is like in the modern day. Today's topic is about civil war.
So for our presentation today, we will be reflecting on the complexities of navigating our role in this community project. This will be done through the telling of the story of YOTS from our own perspective as the two psychologists who co-founded this initiative. Through highlighting parts of our beginning story, we will highlight several guiding tenets that have emerged. The suggestion is that these tenets can be used as a way of entering, setting up, and working collaboratively within a community in ways that challenge oppressive dominant narratives on youth, especially in townships. With an awareness of the many unpublicized atrocities that people in townships face and the many ways in which they are constantly fighting this, we were curious about what township youth were saying and doing about the injustices. At the end of 2015, much had been happening in the media regarding youth. There was the Fees Must Fall movement had begun. And this was, I guess there had been a momentum gained through the student-led protest, which included the Fees Must Fall, which was a protest against the rising fees of universities, to the call and the movement for decolonizing university or education system, right through to the call for transformation in the university space, with issues that were being challenged around racial and gender inequality. We saw that this then moved through to high schools across South Africa. And with this in mind, coupled with our own personal experiences of township schools, our interest in young people, and an understanding of the complex social structure that we all exist in, we felt an urgency to engage with young people. With that, YOTS was born. YOTS creates and holds a space that allows for the move between individual internal worlds and the shared external world. After a year of us thinking, networking, discussing on how to approach this, and having various meetings with possible high schools in Soweto, we finally secured a meeting with a group of learners at Fort High School in Dobsonville. Our invitation to the learners was exclusively to the senior group. We arrived to the school hall with all the 20 young people waiting to meet. We planned to start with an icebreaker and getting to know you sort of activities, which involved everyone sharing a little something about themselves. The young people used this exercise to share very personal traumatic experiences. We were left feeling saddened and moved by the painful stories that the young people shared. It was at this point that we realized what theory had probably already told us, that we all come to social justice work with our own story and wish for personal justice. Upon reflection on the first meeting and in thinking as psychologists, we decided that what the group may have been saying was that they needed a space to process their own pain and trauma. We stayed with this for most of that year. It was only later in the year and after a workshop and our first field trip to a group of other young people in a different township that the group organically started to move past their own stories and were interested in the experiences of other young people. By sharing this beginning story, we hope to have highlighted, one, the importance and value of understanding the context of the community. Secondly, that in a way, it was only through creating a space and by allowing enough time that the relationships develop and deepen. And out of this way of entering and working collaboratively, we become aware of theories located in the margins. Secondly, we are able to be part of the multiple forms of action. And lastly, there is the ability to see multiple versions of reality, which for the purpose of this presentation will be the focus of our reflection. So through telling the story, through telling of more of our story, we will highlight this gift.
The group's weekly meetings are mostly held in what has been labelled as the school library. From the dusty dated textbooks littering the dilapidated bookshelves to the many rats that scurried around us during our meetings, the library, an appendage to the main school building, can be described as a depressing yet sobering reflection of the state of the school. The library as a space offered us an understanding how even in a dire and seemingly hopeless space, learning, thinking, and working seemed to be possible. Teachers use the space as an office, yachts meet and think, and learners have their lessons in the space. It's a space both for learning and as a symbol of the desperate situation that the school finds themselves in. Over the years, we felt upset by the state of the infrastructure of the school. It reminds us of our own experiences as learners in township schools. We remember times of pinky, which may be more easily understood as ghosts or spooks, roaming around primary school toilets, and are traumatized by the images of wet floors, blocked toilets, dark and smelly cubicles, no doors, poor plumbing, and what felt like abandoned and neglected parts of the school, sites of terror. Whilst these are our own stories, the state of the school toilets in the Dobsonville High School are no different and seem to evoke the same responses in the Yachts girls. We are often aware of how easy it is to get upset and to be filled with judgment around the state of the school. We are left with complex feelings, feelings of frustration with the teachers in seemingly allowing things to reach such levels, annoyance with parents for accepting this for their children, a pull to blame learners for vandalizing school property, and an anger towards ourselves for sitting week after week in the mess. At times, the reasoning that we held on to was that the situation is at best as a result of the lack of resources, lack of support of teachers and learners, and as a result of the legacy of apartheid. And at worst, laziness, disinterest, and the politicization of education. However, through conversations, time, and through a trusting relationship with the head of department for life orientation, or what could otherwise be explained as guidance counselor, we were enlightened as to one of the ways in which the state of the library could be understood. In simply explaining the school's silent resistance, she gave us insight into how not covering up the mess or pretting up the dire situation and lack of support from the Department of Education. The state of the library was an act of political resistance, a site of struggle for dignity, and on some level, a real desire for structural change. This kind of resistance seemed to highlight years of neglect and, in a way, offered resistance in a self preserving way. In standing with the school community, the ability to accept that there are multiple ways of understanding the effects of social injustices is a crucial point, and it's also based on the African proverb, "He who does not know one thing knows another." In light of this notion, thinking back to the moment with the guidance counselor, head of department, and her ability to share a different version of reality, it opened up our understanding of the complex ways in which the school offers resistance. Had the story not been told, a very narrow, skewed, and possibly damaging dominant narrative story of lazy teachers and careless students in township schools may have been perpetuated, at least in our minds. Whilst we won't go into as much detail with the other byproducts of entering in this way, this idea of bringing to the fore the transformative theories at the margin can also be seen when we reflect on our beginning story. The way in which we entered the school, and particularly the first meeting with the learners, was imbued with our own expectations, as well as our lessons from social history. If we hadn't been conscious of the situated knowledges in the room, we may have run the risk of taking ownership of the group, and we would have lost really transformative theorizing and understandings that have guided our action. And then finally, the idea that action is more than an intervention remains implicit in our understanding of standing with. Mangani reminds us when he speaks about Black consciousness and solidarity that in the relationship between mutual knowledge and solidarity, there exists the connotation of action in solidarity. In other words, one has to be thinking of a consciousness which leads to action. And in a sense, through speaking of engaging as standing with, we're speaking of a kind of action. And in the work that Yots has been involved in over the past 4 years, there's really been multiple actions at multiple levels. And we see these actions as the gifts of the community, from the consistent spaces for conversation, to the workshops, to the reading groups, to the deepened relationships, to the campaigns, research projects, social networks, multiple ways of self expression, the documentaries, to the personal growth and development through standing with. These are gifts both valued and created by all of us standing in solidarity.
And in conclusion, our hope is to continue to engage and immerse ourselves in the work, and we remain aware of the many learnings that we gather along the way. In essence, our hope is that with an awareness of the ever-changing context that we work in, and by allowing time for the process to unfold, and through cultivating authentic and loving relationships with those that we journey with, that our efforts to stand in solidarity will become a reality. Through this process of self-reflexivity and through providing democratic processes of engagement, we continue to deepen our understanding of the multiple versions of reality. We become more aware of the everyday theorizing at the margins, and ultimately we are able to be part of the multiple possibilities for action in solidarity. We thank you.
Thank you.